I will never lament my boobs. Hello witches, and welcome back to Activist Witch, where we discuss witchcraft and activism. You can call me Isha, my pronouns are she, they, and in today's video we're gonna look at 5 of the apps that I use on my phone that helps me in my witchcraft practice. We're gonna see how it helps me with my green witchery and plants, with astrology, with planetary hours, and with tarot. But before we get started, let me remind you that I've opened a Ko-fi, and on there you can do a one-off donation, a monthly donation, or even get a tarot reading with me, Italian style. The low-income option starts at £5. And for the months of December 2024 and January 2025, there will be a year-ahead reading that you can get with me, but only for these 2 months. So if you want in, here's your chance. And for the foreseeable future, all my profits from tarot readings goes directly to support Coaches to Gaza, who are part of the mutual aid groups who support Palestinian people evacuate and relocate to Egypt. So if you decide to support me there, thank you so very much. Also, don't forget, we are in phase 2 of Witches for Palestine. You want more information about that and join the raffle? You find all the links down in the description below. I was surprised that I could narrow it down to 5. There's technically a couple more, but I don't really use them. So really, this is my almost daily going through. Notice, I have an Android phone. I think most of these apps are available for iPhone as well. If I find that that's the case, you will find the links to all of these apps down in the description below. All these apps are free as well. They might have paid options. I still use the free ones because, hey, broke witch. With that premise out of the way, the first one that I'll present to you is helping me incredibly about not only planetary hours, but the dignity level or the debility level of the planets. If you've seen my video about planetary magic, planetary hours, dignities, debilities, elective astrology, it's a bit of a special interest of mine, and actually I had to start learning it by reverse engineering things, so if you go watch that video, it's gonna be simpler for you. The app by Alexander Kalashnikov, we're not starting a revolution. The app Hours by Alexander Kalashnikov does exactly that. It tells you what the planetary hours for that day in that location are, and what the values are for the planets. Now, I've had people ask me before when I talk about values, what does that mean? Well, in very short, according to Christian astrology by William Lilly, and then Ptolemaic tables, and then Egyptian bounds, it's a discipline in itself, which again, I'll send you to the video that I've done about it for it. But in short, the point is that depending on where the planets are, in which sign, in which house, if they are retrogrades or not, they get assigned a certain value, a certain amount of points. In Christian astrology by William Lilly, there's this belief that when you work with a planet, ideally it would be +5 or higher dignified. Hours app tells you exactly that, when a planetary hour is and what's the value of that planet that day. It doesn't give you more information than that, though. So for me, when I had to start learning about planetary dignities and debilities, which is what you search, by the way, in Google if you want to learn more about this, yeah, that was a bit hard to understand. Technically, there's the paid version of Astro Gold, but just for iOS. The paid version for Android doesn't do that. The paid version of Astro Gold for iOS has dignities and debilities calculated, and it tells you why. So if there are mutual receptions, all that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily advise anyone to get Astro Gold because it's a very professional kind of app. It's quite expensive. I think I paid like 50 quid 2 years ago to have it on iOS, and I just have it on my iPad. And it was literally just to learn and reverse engineer dignities and debilities from the current position of the planets. Hours does that for you. Unfortunately, Alexander Kalashnikov passed away earlier this year. Other than being sorry, because he leaves an amazing amount of work for us to still have. He was the person behind the Lunarium.co.uk website. I just hope that the website and app still get curated, even if unfortunately we had this sad loss in the astrology community. Going forward in time also with hours, it's how I plan my spells for the next month or couple of months or so. I've done it recently and realized that Venus is going to be in Pisces in January, which means that she's going to be well dignified. It's about planetary ruling, exaltations, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to go in detail here, but suffice to say, Venus in Pisces is going to be good stuff. Also because it has mutual reception with Jupiter, it's good. And Hours just told me, Venus is going to be +6 in January for 20 days or something like that. So all my spells that are planned to be done with Venus will be done then. And it does take into consideration the essential dignities and debilities according to Christian astrology and mutual receptions for domicile and exaltation. So there you go. If you are into planetary magic and timing like I am, essential. To remain into astrology and especially moon stuff, I have gone through quite a few apps and gone with a fine-tooth comb to understand what app has all the information that I need, and it's all there. And the answer was the Daily Life with Moon calendar, which has a name not that catchy, I know. This is the app, this is what it looks like. It's amazing because in just one app, it has a metric facton of information. And it is annoying that it pops up with the ads, but admittedly, for the information that it has, awesome. And technically you could do a one-off payment to have it for free forever. I reckon that it's like 40-50 quid if I remember. I can't do the investment, so I still enjoy the ads. On the main page, when you open it, it has all the information about the current moon phase, when the moon rose and set in the place specifically where you are, and same for the sun. When is the next new moon? When is the next full moon? When is the next super moon? When is the next micro moon? When is the next blue moon? When is the next black moon? All the moons, all the eclipses as well, lunar and solar. And you get the default day, but you can also move around in the calendar so you can anticipate and project and plan for things, which, as you can tell, I have a thing for. In the third page, you have the moon's energy, and so it tells you what the phase is, what the position in the zodiac of the moon, now specifically the moon is in Aquarius, what's that energy like. And without saying it, that's the stuff that we need when we do spells. You have the moon phase, you have the moon sign, so in which sign and at what time the moon changes sign, because every day and a half, 2 days, the moon is in another zodiacal sign, so it changes quickly, and unfortunately I got an ad. You have the void of course lists of the next moon void of course. The moon void of course is, how do I explain this? Okay, I can explain this. Because the moon jumps a sign every 1 day and a half, 2 days, it goes around the zodiac relatively quickly. The void of course refers to the moon aspecting other planets. So by the time that it ends its presence in a sign, so in the 30 degrees of the zodiac that she is in, it might be that between the time that it has the last aspect in that sign and then the first aspect in the next sign, that is a time which the moon is void of course. And it is believed that when the moon is void of course, it has somewhat less power to aid in any kind of spell that we do. So again, it's not necessarily catered to witches, this app, but it has this stuff. It has, of course, planetary hours for day and for evening, again, calculated for the specific place that you're in. And it has transits of planets as well, and all the aspects that the moon does. Going back to, what are the aspects that the moon does before she gets void, of course, before going into the next zodiacal sign. And that's the last page of it. Honestly, it has so much information about the moon phases, signs, aspects, and also on top of it, planetary hours. It's so well self-contained, and especially when you need to know the sunset and the sunrise of moon and the sun in the place specifically, geographically where you are, this is good stuff. The last app that I have in the astrology and planetary realm is Astromatrix, and I think even Ivy the Occultist mentioned it before. It is very good with charts, with transits. You can do progressed charts compared to when you were born, because it all goes around your own birth chart, and then it brings you all the explanation of all the possible aspects and transits that are coming into your life, which is something that I really like, because as a very, very beginner student of astrology, sometimes it's hard for me to get a grasp on, oh, this planet is in this sign and is aspected to this other planet this way. Because as a very beginner astrology student, that kind of example, as the app brings, helps me get into the mindset of understanding, okay, that planet in that angle to that other planet in that sign has this energy, has this feeling. Learning them by memory is never going to work for me, but learning them as they happen to me, easier. And in the daily overview, it has all these transits and aspects defined with keywords, and then you can go and read further. And of course, it presents differently the ones of the inner planets because they move faster, and the ones of the outer planet because they last for longer. My transit of Uranus in 11th house is going to end in 6 years, for example. And it's going to be about changing friends and changing scene. And I can totally see how that started to happen. It comes with planetary hours as well, but it's honestly not the main app that I would use for that. It has weekly and daily sort of horoscope, but you can also jump ahead and again see the transit and the aspects that are going to happen. And you can have your chart with current planets, transits, just the birth chart, synastry, composite, solar return, lunar return, progressed and draconic. I don't know what draconic. What is dragon? Do you? It's interesting. I like the name. My fourth app doesn't have to do with astrology so much anymore, maybe for correspondences, and you probably know it better than me if you are into tarot at all, and it's Labyrinthos. Labyrinthos, I think, is the app for learning tarot. I don't know if anybody has started with that as well. I know that it was very popular. I know that it's the first app that I got for tarot, and from time to time I still go back to it. It's very useful if you want to have a digital journal, because it lets you do daily 3-card readings and stuff like that, and you record it there, and then it gives you statistics based on your daily readings automatically, so you don't have to go back in your journal and start to see, there are a lot of pentacles lately, that kind of thing. It does it for you. It has exercises to start learn tarot and basically gives you meaning and asks you, what card do you think this connects to? And it has it for all the suits and then for the major arcana. So if you actually want to exercise with tarot, you can do that there. And it also has a good few decks, digital decks, that you can learn from. And it's just basically a menu telling you the meanings, the essential meanings of all of them. But it's actually also decks of the author of Labyrinthos that you can buy. So I guess that's the reason why it can be kept mostly free, although I think recently they started a kind of subscription thing. Again, broke rich, I'm still on the free one. It also has Lenormand and runes lately, not something that I use, but it's there, it's good to know. It also is interesting to know that most of the decks that are presented there and you can learn from are Rider-Waite-Smith decks, and they are considered and used from the archetypal point of view, so the Jungian kind of stuff, rather than more in divinatory ways. So just so you know, when you look for the keywords or short explanations of every card, it honestly helped me a lot, because when I started to read tarot in this phase of my life, so a couple of years ago, a little longer than that now, it helped me a lot to do daily pulls with the Rider-Waite-Smith or a Rider-Waite-Smith clone really, and then go to read the meaning on Labyrinthos, and that would cement itself after a while. Consider that what I still had from tarot was from my childhood, and so was on the Marseille style, which is still, with me, and that's the reason why technically you get tarot readings with me, Italian style, which means that at times, if the meaning from the Marseille kind of reading come to me while I'm doing a reading for you, you will get that as well. But yeah, in my current practice, I have developed on the Rider-Waite-Smith, and so basically relearning every card, it was useful for me to do daily pulls that I could check on Labyrinthos what the meaning was. To finish it all, I've mentioned it before in my Connect with the Land video, Picture This, which is an AI-based, which is machine learning really in this case. So AI as a word has ruined things for me, but in this case is machine learning that basically from a picture that you take tells you what plant, what herb, what tree you're looking at. which to me, it's amazing because I will never stop saying this, the difference it makes to find a tree and realize that it's not just greenery around, but suddenly it's an oak, or it's a beech, or it's a poplar, which in my case was very, very amazing when I found one. It just helps you to connect to the area around you. I know that we love to see the correspondences that come from properly magic books, the cool pepper, fine, absolutely. But every one of us has so much greenery that is indigenous to wherever you are or has become indigenous, that to understand your neighborhood, not even your city, your neighborhood in plants, it's amazing. Last year, I found a rapeseed plant growing from the cracks in the asphalt one street over. It's that kind of thing. And it's so exciting to me every time that suddenly I've learned your name, suddenly we're friends. And it just takes a picture. And I have yet to see it fail. I don't say that you don't have to double check, and definitely don't use it and don't trust it if you're actually foraging, because then it becomes a matter of health. So don't trust it that way. But when you're using it to identify and, I don't know, make your own bundles, I've done it with mugwort. That's how I started to recognize mugwort. And that's amazing. And actually, from just an eye point of view, I would keep mixing up mugwort and fleabane. The app is what has taught me this is actually the slight difference that they have, and I kept on identifying them, and then finally I'm getting to the point where I can sort of tell by eye as well. So it's a learning tool, but then you sort of acquire that knowledge, which to me it's amazing. After a month, it starts telling you, oh, you should register. But if you notice, in the top right corner, there's a transparent X, which technically means you can forever use it for free. You just close the advertisement to pay it, and you keep using it. It means that you can only keep like 10, I think, plants in your history. But again, unless you go through the history, which personally I don't, but maybe it's important to you, I don't know. In that case, maybe it's worth subscribing to it. I haven't, and I'm still happy, and I'm learning a lot. And I think every green witch that is feeling connected to the land or wants to feel connected to the land, this is a great app for it. Right, that was it, short and sweet. I hope this was useful. Do let me know what apps you use that might not be mentioned here, or if you use any of these apps, how you find them, how you're using them. Maybe there's parts of it that I didn't know and you can tell me about, and I can learn about them. So honestly, feel free to let me know how you take things. And until the next video, I really hope that we can hex the patriarchy together, because there's need for it.